Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson we will focus on our bird. As you remember, in the original Flappy Bird game, if our bird hits the ground or if it hits the topmost of the sky, it dies. So we need to make sure that in our game it does the same. We will do that by adding rigid body to our bird, which will give our bird gravity. Next thing, we should add collider to the bird, to sky, and to ground. So let's go ahead and do that. But before everything, I want to rename all of these sprites. So click on ground sprite, go to inspector, find its name and change it to ground. And hit enter to save. As you can see, it's renamed right here. So click on sky and do the same. And for bird the same. Next thing we should do is add rigid body 2D and collider to our bird. So click on bird, go to inspector, add component, physics 2D and rigid body 2D. And again, add component, physics 2D and polygon collider 2D. If you zoom in our bird, you can see these little green lines. Those are actually lines of our collider. Zoom out. Now click on ground. Add component, physics 2D and collider, but we will choose box collider this time. If you zoom out, you will see that it's a bit too big, so let's go ahead and edit it by clicking on edit collider button we have right here in our inspector. Use this little green box to make sure that it fits right to our ground. I think it's okay. Click on sky now, go to inspector, add component, physics 2D, and again box collider 2D. As you can see, it's again too big, so edit it by clicking on edit collider button. So we want to put collider on the topmost of our sky. And this is okay by now. Now, we need to add script. First, go to project, click right click, go to create and C# script. This script shall be named bird. We will also add a folder to hold all of our scripts. So right click, create folder, which will be called scripts. Just click on our bird script and drag it to the script folder. We also want to add this script to our bird, so click on bird script and just drag it to our bird. Now when you click on bird and scene, you go to inspector, you see that it has this bird script right here. Please double click the bird script in our project. So we want to make sure that when we tap our screen, our bird flies, meaning if our screen is pressed, our bird goes up by some value. We will do that by first defining the rigid body 2D. So go ahead and type private rigid body 2D, which will be called RB. And in our start method, we want to define what is our RB. So RB is equal to get component rigid body 2D. Next thing, we want to make sure that our bird jumps if we press the screen. So in our update method, we will check if the screen is pressed by typing if input.getMouseButtonDown 0. So if our screen is pressed, we want to make our bird fly up for some value. We will do that by adding first velocity to our bird, then add force to our bird. Our bird is here RB, which is actually the rigid body on our bird. RB.velocity will be equal to vector2.0. We could make our bird go up by some value by typing RB.velocity equals mu vector2 and let's say 0 and 2. This will also make our bird go up, but it is not done like this, and it's better to use forces. So we will do that by typing rb.addForce, open the brackets, new vector 2, and our values will be 0 for x-axis, since we do not want our bird to move right, and 200 for y-axis, because we want our bird to go up. Okay, let's hit save and go to Unity to see how it looks like. Press this play button. Our bird falls to the ground, and that is okay since it has gravity because we had a rigid body 2D added to it. Now if we tap our screen, our bird flies. Okay, it flies by 200 in the y-axis. Okay, exit the play mode by clicking on the play button right here, and let's get back to our script. The next thing we will do is make sure that when our bird hits the ground, or if it hits the topmost of the sky, it dies. First thing we should do is add variable, which will be boolean. It's going to be private. So private bool is dead. It will be initialized to false, so equals false. This boolean will help us detect if our bird died. We also want to update our update method. Go to our if statement, and before this condition, just add another one, which will be is dead equals false, and add these two symbols which mean and. So basically what we did here is we said if our bird isn't dead, so if that equals false means it's alive. So if our bird is alive and we detect any input on our screen, these statements will execute, and both of these conditions have to be true in order to make sure that this works. Okay, so how do we know when our bird is dead? So when our bird hits any of the colliders, so either sky or either ground, we have to state that it is dead. So there's a special method for this which detects the collision. So type private void, and this method is called onCollisionEnter2D. And in this method we will just say that our boolean is dead equals true. So it becomes true when our bird hits any of the colliders. So go ahead and save this and get back to Unity, and let's check this out by clicking on play. So our bird fell to the ground, and if our script is correct, we cannot move it anymore. As you can see, I'm clicking the screen, but I cannot move it because it is already dead. Now let's try again, but this time I will hit the sky. As you can see, I'm flying, and when I hit the sky, I'm dead and I cannot fly anymore. Okay, this is it for this lesson. See you next time.